Everyone has those moments where they stop and think, man, I got so much going on right now, my head is spinning. It's like life is nothing but extremes, like the ones we'll be showing you today. When the feeling subsides, it's usually a relief. So if it's great for our heads to stop spinning, well, wouldn't it be the same if it happened to Earth? If Earth stopped spinning, I mean? It's not like we'd go flying like bits of confetti when someone takes a leaf blower to them. Despite the best efforts of the sun and moon to do what they can to slow our planet down through gravitational forces, it's a losing battle. Now, if we gave them a little help stopping the Earth in its tracks, what would happen next would be like slamming on the brakes of your convertible while speeding at 1,600 kilometers per hour and catapulting yourself forward. Not ideal. Now, scale that up to include every object on the planet that isn't firmly tied down, and that's just the start of what you'd be dealing with if Earth slammed into something that could stop its forward momentum. It's not exactly a scenario that was discussed in Paris back in 1851 when a pendulum was used to prove the Earth rotates, but that's what we're here for.
High-speed internet, supersonic jets, instant coffee, instant noodles. Would you believe our world is slowing down? They say time flies when you're having fun, but over the past 100 years, including the 20s, the 60s, and the 80s, our days have actually gotten longer. Before you say, "You're telling me," let's just clarify. The average length of a day has only increased by 1.7 milliseconds. But what if you could get more out of your day? What if a great night never had to end? What if one day lasted an entire year? And in that time, you could walk around the whole Earth. This is What If. And here's what would happen if the Earth were to suddenly stop spinning. The Earth rotates at an average speed of 1,000 miles per hour, giving us night and day while harnessing wind, tides, and temperature. So what would happen if these revolutions that are so vital to our existence were to suddenly stop? Imagine owning the fastest, sexiest sports car in the world. Pretty nice, huh? The open road calls. There's no traffic in sight and no highway patrol officers either. So you decide to test its top speed, driving at 1,000 miles per hour. Out of nowhere, an obstacle. You hit the brakes, your car stops suddenly, but you don't. That's what would happen at the moment the Earth stops spinning. Everything that isn't safely secure or tied down will be suddenly sent flying eastward at 1,000 miles per hour. Humans, cars, even pigs. The fastest wind ever recorded was 253 miles per hour. In this scenario, we're talking about winds 4 times as strong, feeling similar to an atomic blast. In less than a minute, towering tsunamis would sweep more than 17 miles inland. All the water from the world's oceans would surge towards the poles. Since the globe bulges at the equator, the North and South Pole are closer to the center of the Earth, and therefore have a stronger gravitational pull. The 7 seas would turn into 2, forming one mega ocean in the north and another in the south. Canada, most of Europe, and Russia would be completely submerged. Boston, Chicago, and Seattle would also be underwater, along with parts of Argentina, Chile, and New Zealand. The oceanic displacement would form a massive supercontinent along the equator, wrapping around the entire Earth. While this might make it easier for any surviving humans to work together, there'd be little anyone could do to improve their lot. Resources would be scarce, the world would experience wide-scale drought, and most species would be endangered, if not already extinct. Agriculture would be nearly impossible to maintain, since a full day would now last an entire year. In other words, you'd see the sun for 6 straight months, and spend the other half of the year in darkness. This would also inhibit the natural transition between seasons. The final fatal consequence would be the loss of our magnetic field. Aside from giving us a sense of direction, Earth's magnetic field ensures our survival by deflecting solar wind, which would otherwise rip through our ozone layer and blast us with harmful radiation. Deadly cosmic rays would effectively kill all living things on the planet, and over time, the world as we know it would turn into Mars as we know it. Wait a minute, aren't we trying to travel to Mars? And possibly live on it? Are Mars and Earth just going to switch places? Is this what it means to come full circle? Even if we don't come to a screeching stop, the world will one day stop spinning. In about 18.5 billion years. So for now, enjoy the time you have, seize the day, and make every night great.
Hey, thanks for having our back there, magnetic field. You know, it would have been nice to have at least a few survivors. They could try dabbling in something called Deextinction. You know, to bring some life back to Earth. In 2022, Texas-based Colossal, which touts itself as a de-extinction company, grabbed headlines with the announcement of its $75 million program focusing on making the woolly mammoth a living, breathing reality once again. Sounds like a cool concept, but aren't we already kind of cramped for space as it is? Consider this. In the time it took you to shower, make your bed, and have breakfast this morning, up to 4 species went extinct. Bet you weren't aware of that when you were flipping your pancakes. Now, if you were able to bring extinct animals back from the dead, how would they fit on today's Earth? Wouldn't having saber-toothed tigers wandering through the woods be a bit dangerous? Even if they did take care of the seemingly bottomless numbers of raccoons wreaking havoc in my garden, and on my roof, and under my back deck. On the bright side, having a few dodos wandering around might not be all that bad. All they'd want to do is hang out, relax, and most importantly, leave you in one piece.
What do saber-toothed tigers, woolly mammoths, and the dodo all have in common? They're all extinct. And some theorize humans played a large part in this. What if we could apologize for our wrongdoings as a species and bring these creatures back? Is it scientifically possible? And would humans remain at the top of the food chain? This is What If, and here's what would happen if extinct animals could be brought back to life. You know, one day, this might not be a hypothetical, as science is getting closer to bringing extinct animals back. Known as de-extinction, it's the process of bringing extinct animals back from the dead. What used to be science fiction is slowly becoming a reality. It is possible that this might happen one day, but unfortunately, you won't be seeing any dinosaurs. Why? Well, that's because in order for this de-extinction process to work, a species' DNA needs to be of a certain age. Scientists say that DNA becomes unreadable after 1.5 million years. After that amount of time, it's practically useless. So the dinosaurs that went extinct 65 million years ago are ineligible for this experiment. Sorry, guys. But if the species is young enough and the DNA happens to be readable, then scientists can use it for genome editing. One of the ways this could work would be using the DNA from extinct species and fusing it with its closest animal relative currently living today. One of the animals that scientists say is eligible for de-extinction? The woolly mammoth. Small mammoth populations were still alive just 3,600 years ago. Experts believe that this species could have survived extinction if it wasn't for the humans hunting them. One potential way mammoth de-extinction could work is if scientists were to combine woolly mammoth DNA with that of elephants alive today. Over time, these hybrid animals could slowly morph into full-on mammoths, effectively bringing the species back. This might take a few thousand years, but over time, mammoths could be roaming the earth again. If this method were to work, think of all the incredible animals we could have back in our world. The 12-foot-tall giant short-faced bear, hairless dogs, and of course the lovable dodo bird. Just remember to be wary of the saber-toothed tigers that would be running around. You don't want to mess with those. If we wanted to get weird, we could even bring back Neanderthals, although that could be incredibly dangerous and would ultimately be a stupid idea. This species would die pretty quickly, as they just wouldn't be able to survive in our current world. With our diets, germs, and diseases, Neanderthals wouldn't last long. That goes for all these other animals we're bringing back too. Sure, in theory, they should be able to adapt over time, but there are tons of other issues that may come with bringing a species back from extinction. One thing we'd need to be worried about is just how do we control these species? We wouldn't want a giant short-faced bear mating with other bears. That could present a number of unknown issues. But what's to stop them from doing it anyway? Another question science would need to ask is, what exactly is the point of all of this? Sure, being able to ride a woolly mammoth would be amazing, but is it really worth it? What kind of purpose are these animals serving other than for the sake of our entertainment? And there exists the possibility that these new animals would disrupt the current ecosystems we have today, leading to other animals going extinct because of them. One good thing de-extinction could do is bring back essential animals that we have today that may become extinct. Bees have long been talked about as a species that may go extinct relatively soon. If de-extinction technology is finally realized, maybe we'll never have to worry about it happening. But that also raises some concern. If that was our reality, people may think it was okay for things to go extinct, since we could always bring them back. This could cause an increase in hunting and a general carelessness for animals around the world. Bringing back a species may sound like an incredible idea, but the risks and unpredictability of it are huge. Maybe it's just best to take care of what we have now and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Hey, remember when people used to call you a Neanderthal because all you ever did was brag about that one time you went surfing and managed to stay upright for a full 90 seconds before wiping out? Or maybe it was because you kept telling everyone you and your board could totally conquer a tsunami, dude. Here's the thing. Science and tsunami surfing don't get along. You surf on a wave, you surf in a tsunami. The sting you got from that jellyfish the last time you went surfing would be heavenly compared to what might get hurled at you in a tsunami. You ever been dinged by a kitchen sink from a luxury yacht? Today might be your unlucky day.
There's something approaching from the distance that you can't stop. It can completely destroy cities and kill tens of thousands of people. It looks like another big wave at first, but as it gets closer, you can see it's not just big, it's huge. It's a tsunami. You should probably run away from it, but instead, we're going to surf it. Seriously? This can't be good. Is surfing a tsunami even possible? And have people done this before? Well, we better get started. This is What If, and here's what would happen if you went surfing on a tsunami. The biggest wave that someone has surfed on was 24.4 meters tall. Tsunamis can be around this height, but for our purposes, let's go a little bigger and say ours is 30 meters tall. If you do want to surf on a tsunami, and we don't recommend you do it, you'll most likely have to travel to Japan or the Philippines. This is because they're located in the Ring of Fire, an area in the Pacific Ocean where tsunamis are most likely to occur. But hold up, how do tsunamis occur anyway? Tsunamis are different from the usual waves caused by wind and tides. Tsunamis form due to volcanic activity, but most often after an earthquake occurs in the ocean. If an earthquake happens in the sea that's 6.5 or higher on the Richter scale, you can expect a tsunami to come heading for land. This massive wave will start deep in the ocean and build its way up to the coastline, quickly gaining speed and power. Experts say that a tsunami can move up to 800 kilometers per hour as it reaches the shore. So be prepared, if you can, for a wave as fast as a passenger jet. And although tsunamis start as small bumps deep in the ocean, as they reach shallower water, they become much more massive. So, how would you surf on this thing? Well, let's hope you have a friend that's just as daring as you, because the wave is moving so fast, you'd need your friend to drive up the wave on a jet ski while you hitch a ride on the back. If you manage to get to the top, you'll quickly realize that this wave is completely different from any other wave you've surfed before. That's because tsunami waves don't break, as opposed to regular waves created by wind. A breaking wave curves and cascades onto itself, making it the perfect wall for your surfboard, but generally speaking, a tsunami doesn't have this quality. Apart from the massive size and the incredible speed of the tsunami, surfing on it would be nearly impossible because there wouldn't be much for your board to grip onto. But you're up here now, so what do? Well, your best bet is to really hold on for dear life and hope for the best. Let's be real here, there's no way you're going to be able to surf on this monster. You'll quickly be hurled towards whatever coast the tsunami decides to bring you to. And you probably won't just land on the beach either. You could be several hundred meters or even kilometers inland. It could hurl you against the side of a bus or into a building. And after the tsunami brings you there, that won't be all that happens. After it tosses you inland, the waves will pull you right back out into the ocean. Now, it's not only you in the tsunami, other people, cars, and even entire parts of buildings will all be forced into the ocean, causing even more destruction as they slosh through the tsunami's path. You may think it's over now, but that isn't the case. A tsunami isn't just one massive wave, it's multiple waves. A tsunami can last for up to an hour, with waves up to 30 meters continually hitting the coast while destroying cities and killing people. So once you lose your surfboard, you'd be in the water with everything else being pushed back and forth from the coast and back out to the sea. You'd keep doing this until you eventually drown or die from getting hit by debris. So, although surfing a tsunami would make for a pretty gnarly story, maybe we should just stick to the regular breakers for now. Even if you were to try and surf a tsunami and somehow survived, you would probably get pretty badly hurt and be in a lot of pain.
Okay, let's say you did manage to make it through your tsunami experience, only to find out that everyone else on the planet was washed away when you got back, leaving you the sole human left anywhere. Remember that catastrophic scenario we placed you in earlier when Earth hit the emergency brake? Yeah, it's like that, but minus the killer cosmic rays. Now, this is only a hypothetical, so please don't get the head spins again. If it makes you feel any better, a 2023 University of Bristol study says the planet still has 250 million years before it's completely uninhabitable. If there's a positive in this situation, there would still be remnants of the world as you knew it to help increase your odds of surviving. The downside is water cooler talk isn't nearly as fun when you're the only one standing there. So, did you guys watch Breaking Bad? And that constant social isolation could make priorities like finding shelter and clean water even more difficult. Maybe there's a dodo you could name Wilson wandering around here someplace. You could also counteract all that by doing something as simple as it gets, staying naked. Research has shown that people who spend more time in the buff are happier and healthier than their constantly clothed counterparts. I wouldn't know anything about that. And don't worry, dodos aren't the judgmental type.
There are 3.8 billion women on Earth. There were 3.9 billion men. But now, it's just you. And your phone won't stop ringing. Is this some kind of fantasy? A paradise? Or a prison? This is What If. And here's what would happen if you were the last man on Earth. You wake up one morning and half the world's population is missing. But they didn't just disappear indiscriminately. It's just the boys that are gone. The crew, the fellas, the guys, the bros. We're not sure where they went or what happened to them, but we can say that you've got bigger problems than worrying about who you're gonna get beer and watch football with. The grief comes first. Then it's the girls. And then comes the big question. Repopulation. Are you up for it? Being solely responsible for repopulating the world one female at a time might sound like fun, but in reality, it's a lot of hard work. Since 1973, male sperm counts across America and Europe have been going down. No one really knows why, but many scientists believe that pollution, stress, smoking, and drinking are probable causes. To restore the human race, you, the last man on Earth, would be expected to do whatever it takes to boost his fertility. To raise your testosterone levels, you'd want to exercise regularly and take lots of vitamin D. You'd also have to increase your vitamin C and zinc intake, since they're both crucial antioxidants you need for healthier sperm. As for alcohol, while it might be a great social lubricant, it won't help you get anyone pregnant due to the negative effects it has on fertility. But if the idea of no more beer keeps you up at night, that won't do you any favors either, since getting enough sleep and reducing stress are just as important. But less stress is a big thing to ask for when half the world and their dad is suddenly missing, and it's up to you to repopulate the Earth. Given the gravity of the situation, you probably wouldn't get to enjoy your time with 3.8 billion eligible bachelorettes. More realistically, you'd probably be set up in some kind of fertility clinic for efficiency's sake. And while you could probably count on a closed door, everyone's still gonna know what you're doing in there. But hey, they don't need to know your method. Assuming the internet is still up and running, you might want to consider getting a VPN, a virtual private network that hides your IP address and encrypts all your data so that no one can see what websites you visit or get access to any of your personal information. Now, you might be thinking, why do I need a VPN if I'm the last man on Earth? Well, you won't be asking that question when you're suddenly getting messages from millions of ladies who now know everything about you, from your favorite foods to where you shop for underwear. Of course, you don't actually have to worry about that happening because we'll never get to a point where there's only one man left on Earth. That being said, evidence suggests that roughly 6,000 years ago, due to climate or ecological factors that seem to have a greater impact on the male population, there was only one man for every 17 women. In more modern examples, wars have been the biggest factor causing gender imbalance between men and women. In the absolute worst-case scenario, scientists estimate that we'd need a mix of 98 healthy men and women to establish a stable, non-inbred population. But of course, the easiest way to solve this problem is to avoid it altogether. Let's prevent any large-scale ecological disasters by taking better care of our environment. Let's choose love over war.
Who needs happy mediums when you can be front and center in the most intense and mind-blowing scenarios like the ones we explored together today? Now, not to date myself, but a decade or 3 ago, people started yelling at one another to go big or stay home. Well, stick around for our next few episodes and you can do both if you want. But that's a story for another What If.